Hey guys, welcome to the 7th Java tutorial. This one we're going to talk about objects and classes. So as you can see, I've already sort of written some code here. I filmed a version of this episode already and I decided to scrap it. I went into too much detail about some things that didn't really need to be explained. So I'm just going to keep it as simple as possible for this one here. So let's just delete what I've done. Let's start again. So, what's a class? Well, hello world.java, this is a class. This hello world here is related to this name of this file here. And but this here, this is not a class. This is what we call a method. A method is sort of the next thing inside of a class, where you can create multiple methods inside classes. What's this package thing up here? Oh, this just means it's a folder. It's in a folder called hello world. That's all that is. So, say we wanted to create a new class. Well, make one over here. And let's call it human, like I did my first one. Get rid of these comments, they're just a distraction. And now you can see it's really simple, just package hello world, things for, just means it's in a folder called hello world. Public class human. So it seems we have public class hello world, now we have public class human. Now we don't need to do any that sort of method here, because this is a main method, by the way, which means that this one will always run first, no matter what. So whatever I put in here is not going to run before this. This has to call any of this. Nothing here will run by itself. It has to be called by this. So we are going to create a class, which is a bit like a blueprint for an object or a thing or whatever. They're called objects in programming. It's a blueprint for it. It means it defines all the different sort of attributes and parts of a thing. So for a human, like what sort of qualities do humans have? Well, they have names, don't they? So string name. What else have they got? Well, they've got string, you know what, let's int age. They got ages. They've got height. So I'm doing a string for this because it's a word, doing an int for this because it's a fixed number, and I'm doing a double for this because it's going to be a decimal point. So these are three things that humans have. And this on its own won't really do much. When we create our human object, we won't be able to actually set a name, age, and height unless we have this next thing called a constructor. So a constructor is like this class. It's a bit like a method, but it's not really. We write it like public human, then brackets. So it's very similar to this, but don't get confused. It is different. It's not a class. It's a constructor. It's got these brackets here. And basically what this does is when you define what a human is, you're going to supply information such as the name, age, and height, and you're going to want to, have those to be set to these variables here. So let's say when you create a human, you give it a name, an age, and a height. So we're using the exact same names as these variables here, but please do not get confused, because these variables, these name, age, and height, they only affect things inside the constructor. They do not touch anything else. They do not go anywhere. If you try and call a name, age, and height over here, it won't have anything to do with these. This name, age, and height is just inside these two curly brackets here. But this name, age, and height can be accessed from inside here. But because we've got duplicate names, we have to specify that we're talking about the ones inside the class, so we have to write this dot name to refer to name over here. And we want that name over there to be equal to the name that we've been supplied inside this human constructor. This dot name equals name. This dot age equals age. This dot height equals height. So where does this come from then? Well, we have to go back to our main class here, in our main method here, and we have to create a human object. So remember when we did the scanner before? Well, a scanner is also an object. A bit different, but it's the same sort of syntax. So human is a class. We sort of treat it like a type, like how we have strings and ints and doubles and booleans. We sort of treat it like that when we create a variable, except this variable is actually going to be an object. So let's call it human1 equals, and remember when we did new scanner? We're doing a similar thing here. We're doing new human in brackets. This is going to give us an error because we need to specify the details about human. So see how we've got human brackets? Well, it's the same as this human with brackets here. We need to specify the name, age, and height when we are creating an object. So what are we going to call this human? Well, it feels appropriate that human1 should be called Adam, doesn't it? His age is pretty old, but you know, hypothetical purposes, let's say he's 30. His height, well, I don't really know, but let's just say 1.8. 1 meter 80 centimeters, let's just say. And you know, Adam's lonely, he needs friends, so let's create human2. New human. Eve. Eve is a year younger than Adam. She's only 29. She's short. She's 1.5. 1.5 meters tall. So, human1 and human2. So when I create human2, I'm not overriding human1. I'm creating a new human. If that makes sense. So, what good is this? What can I do with these human1 and human2? Glad you asked. I can now access all the different variables that I created for human. I can now access here. So I can say human1 dot name. Let's put that in a print. Let's say human1 dot name. This will print out Adam's name. Adam. There we go. If you don't want his name, we want his age. This is age 30. What's his height? He's 1.8 meters. What about Eve's height? Human2. 1.5 meters. Okay then. If human1 dot height is greater than human2 dot height, then we can say for sure that Adam is taller than Eve. Adam is taller than Eve. Let's say else system.out print line Eve is taller than Adam. Now let's edit Eve to make sure she is taller. Let's make her Godzilla, 100 meters tall. Eve is definitely taller than Adam. Definitely.